All right, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube, welcome back to a new YouTube video here on the channel. My name is DJ of DJ and Ken, and today is another episode of DJ Talks Media. I know it's been a minute since we've pulled this off, but barring a lot of things going on in my life, some things happen. And then DJ Talks Media, we're going to talk about movies, TV, video games, anything I want to talk about in the media world. Um, Anything I want to talk about in the media world. These things are my passions in life, and I really want to do them. And today, so we started off with All American with Mr. Kenji, and it was honestly really fun to sit back and talk about a show you really love. This is also something both me, Kenji, and Jaden are love is Pokemon, but me and Kenji are more passionate about it, and we'll do like a part two to this video with Kenji. But this today we're gonna talk about DJ Talks Pokemon. Um, so I'll kind of give like groundwork. These are remakes I'm not going to talk about, especially not this one, and definitely not this one. These are games I just haven't played. Legends Arceus is a game I want to play. That's a kind of like thing I'm going to do in the future. And then for Silver and Gold, Crystal, OG Red and Blue, and Ruby and Sapphire, and Emerald, and Diamond and Pearl, I'm not going to talk about these games because I've played the um, better versions. You can see like I have three remakes to start. We'll get to that. So let's start off with Pokemon Red and Blue. Now I am a fairly like infamous, not huge fan of Gen 1. OG Gen 1 is some of my least favorite um some of my least favorite Pokemon. A la Red and Blue. This would be E tier. But I kind of enjoy Fire Red and Leaf Green. Um, Again, I'm just not like the biggest fan of Kanto in general, um, but Kanto is a very interesting. It's the original region. I can kind of say that. And Red and Blue laid the groundwork for Pokemon, and without Red and Blue, we wouldn't have Pokemon. I mean, we wouldn't have Pokemon without Red and Blue, and that just makes them even more important to the in the grand scheme of the generation. But Fire Red and Leaf Green in general, I'm gonna give a C. They're fine games. Um, they're fine games. They are as basic as a Pokemon game can get because the story. I mean, every Pokemon game has a straightforward story, but what's happening? Every Pokemon game has a straightforward story that's kind of easy to kind of work around. Um, like, but I will say this: Team Rocket is the best evil team. Giovanni is the best boss ever because Giovanni is the only boss that I look at and I'm just like, you're evil. Like you're genuinely evil, and I really enjoy that about the I really enjoy that. I really enjoy Giovanni as a villain. Um, we're gonna kind of go through the first few generations fast because Gen 2, I'm gonna let you guys know. B. I know Gen 2 a lot of time is mocked in the community, and I understand it. Level scaling in this game is atrocious. The way that they scale this game is not great. It's not good. Um, it's not good. When you're like in the sixth gym or seventh gym and they're just getting to level 40, that's an issue. That is a very grand issue. It's not good. And the fact that is the fact that it's a thing is terrible. But I'm able to but if it didn't have issues, S tier game. But I really like Gen 2. It's I love Gen 2. Specifically I love Heart Gold Soul Silver. Art style great. Pokemon Following View, amazing. These I like the story of Gen 2 a lot. Team Rocket V2 does kind of suck because they're just kind of like we're the remnants of Team Rocket and we want to do blah blah blah. And I just don't really enjoy the games all too much. I don't enjoy the games all too much. Gen 2 becomes such a um there's like a portion in Gen 2 that it's like a slog to get through. Um but but yeah, I really enjoy these games. They are fun for me. I should kind of also preference this. In none of these games, when I talk about any of these, I'm not talking about any ROM hack versions of them because if I was talking about ROM hack versions, Rad Red would be my favorite ROM hack of all time. Heart Gold Soul Silver would be, or um, Storm Silver and Sacred Gold would be my favorite. If you guys don't know what ROM hacks are, they are a thing in the Pokemon community where people, well, they're not even ROM hacks, they're called enhancement hacks. Members of the Pokemon community come in and they enhance the games and make them a lot more difficult, giving updating a lot of Pokemon, giving them movesets, giving a lot of the gyms competitive movesets. So yeah, but B tier and C tier for these games. Radical Red, incredible game. Sacred Gold, Storm Silver, incredible game. All right, now we're into my least. Now we're coming into some other games. Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. Um, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. I do not enjoy Gen 3 Pokemon. I know, I know it's not like a popular opinion. I don't enjoy Gen 3 Pokemon. Um I don't like May as a rival. I don't like not a huge fan of May slash Brendan as a rival. I'm not like a huge fan of the Professor. I'm not a huge fan of either Team Rocket or Magma. I'm not a huge fan of a few things in these games that that people rave about. Um, the starters in this generation are very very good. But yeah, I just there was just like even like back as a kid when I was playing Oros, I just couldn't get past the idea that these games are like right here for me. I don't enjoy Oros. They just they I don't enjoy Oros, and for you who's about to say, oh, then play Ruby Sapphire or Emerald. I've played them. I played all three versions. I just can't get into it. It's not for me. Excuse me. They're not for me. They're very, very, very annoying, and they are not good games in my opinion. And that is my take on. That's my take on Heart Gold Soul Silver. Not Heart Gold Silver. On Oros, to me, there's not great games. I think Heart Gold Soul Silver are better remakes. All that. So yeah. Um. Now we're gonna get into Platinum. Platinum. I'm gonna let you guys know. S tier. There's a bit of personal bias into it. Gen 4 was my first ever Pokemon game, Diamond specifically, but I eventually got Platinum, and I remember I spent forever, forever playing these games. They were so good. They were so good back then, and I fell in love with them. I fell in love with them. It's kind of what helped me fall in love with the series, but we'll get into Gen 5 later. Um, these games are really good. And I think this is where Pokemon had its like I think the Gen 3, Gen 4 era is where Pokemon like hit its stride. Like for Gen 1 and 2 hit that era. And then we're seeing a lot more people who played 3 and 4 as like their first games, born in like the 2000s. Really, that's where this is where they got their stick from. I got my stick from Platinum. I love Platinum, and these are the games that this is the game that still to this day I go back and I replay once a year. And I always play it like different. Sometimes it's a Nuzlocke, an Egglock, randomizer. But I go back and I play this game every once a year. I can probably beat this game in about, I don't know, 12 hours. I can beat not even like 12 hours. I can beat this game if I wake up at like 7 a.m. I can have this game beat by before 7 p.m. Even like including in a lunch and possible dinner break. That's how much I love these games. Chimchar, Infernape, my favorite starter line. My favorite starter of all time. Torterra and Polion, cool as shit. Staraptor, best Route 1 bird. Um, best Route 1 bird of all time. Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Great legendary trio. This is the game that introduced Arceus. This is the game that introduced Darkrai and Cresselia. This is these games were monumental for so many reasons. The first game that had VGC implemented as a competitive format, and we see how competitive Pokemon has evolved since. And we'll get into comp later. I didn't talk about comp with Oros. I was just talking about Ruby and Sapphire, but we'll talk about them for X and Y. Next up, Black and White and Black and White 2. So we're going to talk about each of these games separately because they are separate games. Black and White 2 are little sequels of Black and White. So, kind of my history with these games. I hadn't played Gen 5 for a long time. I bought a copy of Pokemon Black 2 from a GameStop back when I was like 13, 14, and I didn't play since. Hadn't played. I played through most of it. I just dropped it, and I picked it back up when COVID hit. When we had COVID come around, is when I picked back up Pokemon. A lot of Pokemon games. And Black and White 2 were one of them. Uh, Me and Kenji actually did a soul link of both of these games, and we completed both of them. And it was really, really sorry for yawning. It was really, really good. Just playing these games for like a new perspective. If you had asked me a few years back, I would have called both of these games D tier, but now they've both crept up. Just to talk about Black and White A, um, in a base game format, I'm still not a huge fan of these. I think the story in both of these games is incredible, but I'm still not a fan of Gen 5's handling of Pokemon. That I think that Pokemon in this game are not, how can I say it? The fact you don't unlock most of the old Pokemon until post game aggravates me because I'm not a huge fan of Gen 5 Pokemon. And I think that's what like holds it back for me. I'm sorry guys. I think that's one thing that holds it back for me. Gen 5 Pokemon are not that entertaining for me. Um they're not that great. I don't get it. I understand what some of them like. Hydreigon, amazing Pokemon. Crocodile, awesome Pokemon. The starters, I'm not as big of a fan of. I'm a lot more of a fan of Samurott now that it has its Hisuian form. Has a Hisuian form. Um, but I like Chandelure. But then for every one of those, there's a Watch Hog and there's a Sock and a Throw that I'm just not a fan of. So as for I'd have to put like Black and White. The story is great, but the Pokemon selection really holds it back, and that's where Black and White 2 comes in at S tier. They improved the Pokemon solution. We got a whole essentially got a whole new game. Um, essentially got a whole new game. Uh, we got a whole new game that was had a completely new story. That was a sequel to Black and White, and this to me was incredible. This to me was incredible. Once I played it for the first time, it was like so entertaining. It was so entertaining to me. Um, I want to also note that Team Plasma in both these games are really good. Black and White, it's better because N is kind of like the face big bad, and in Black and White 2, it's just the Getsus who isn't as like good of a villain because N this whole thing was I'm going to become your friend and then I'm going to stay friendly, but I'm also going to be telling you I'm going to take over this world. Getsus is just this selfish prick who wants all the Pokemon to himself. And that really, really, really sucks. That really sucks. And I'm not like the biggest fan of it. But we kind of live with it. Black and White 2 has an incredible Pokemon selection in my eyes. Great gym leaders, great everything. It has everything that Black and White had. It has the same skeleton as Black and White, but made better in places where it needed to be better. And that's why it goes to my S tier. Gen 5 went from like my bottom gen to my third favorite gen in like a matter of like a couple years because of how good these games are. They're so good. Next up, we have Pokemon X and Y. Um, so for my seasoned Pokemon fans, let me do something real quick. For my seasoned Pokemon fans, this is where a lot of us are going to disagree. Pokemon X and Y are my second favorite games in the Pokemon series, and let me explain why. So after spending like all my time playing Gen 4, I never got Gen 5. I never bought a Gen 5 game when they were the main games. Whenever, whenever they were the main games. On For Christmas of 2013, my god brother bought me Pokemon X. He bought me Pokemon X and he got Y. And he also bought it for me with a 2DS. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze really bad. He bought me alongside a 2DS, and I took these two things wherever I went. Wherever I went. I was, I loved, loved, loved X and Y. Mega Evolution is my favorite mechanic in Pokemon ever because Megas felt so good to use and were so fun to use. They were so fun to use. I love Fennekin. I love Fennekin, Froakie, and Chespin. I love them as a generation of starters. I love Talonflame. I love Daresby. I love a lot of Pokemon in the game. Xerneas, one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. These games introduced my favorite Pokemon of all time in Sylveon. Um, that's when those guys got introduced. Yeah. This game introduced the Fairy type, one of the like most like game warping types in Pokemon history because it didn't like make dragons useless, but it made dragons like a significantly harder to use. I think Pokemon X and Y did great things. Here's where we're kind of like talking to more get into competitive. This is the generation where I got into my first set of competitive. If you guys don't know, there's a online browser called Pokemon Showdown. It allows you to build and create teams of Pokemon and use them in competitive battles without having to do it in game. And I got into competitive this game. That's kind of something I would bump Oros up to here. Just my love of the Gen 6 competitive era. My most favorite tier of all time is Gen 6 UU. My favorite tier of all time. I love that tier. But in the long run, these games are. But in the long, this is how I would rank them. Controversial, yes, I know. Controversial, yes, I know. But I love Gen 6. My second favorite games of all time. Um, and I will love these games until the day I die. Gen 7. And ironically, we go from my favorite generation of competitive battling to one of my least favorites. It's my second least favorite of all the ones like I've actively participated in because I don't like Z moves. I don't enjoy Z moves. That's a me thing. Um, you know, I Gen 7 was the first Pokédex I ever completed. We'll put them both in B. They're fairly the same game. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. They're kind of like parallel timelines, not not sequential games like that. Are sequels. Um, yeah, I don't have much to say on Gen 7. I enjoy the starter trio. I like Incineroar, Primarina, and um, why can't I think of his last one? The Decidueye. I enjoy them. I enjoy them a good bit. Um, these Pokemon are entertaining. They're entertaining. They're fun to use and competitive. But I just not like I'm like neutral. I don't hate them. They're not like oh I hate these games, but they're not also like oh I love these games. B is like my neutral tier. I love them. Like I like them. Don't mind playing them, replaying them, but that's kind of where I'm at. Oh, 1 second, guys. Sorry about all the stoppages. Just have some stuff going. All right. Pokemon Sword and Shield. D. Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield. Um, I unironically have some interesting memories about this game. Well, these are the Pokemon games that came out in 2019, and this game's introduced Dynamax, one of the like least balanced mechanics they ever introduced into Pokemon. You see a lot of people argue for Dynamax or for Megas being like unbalanced because not everybody got a Mega. Um, and like at least everybody could Z move and everybody could Dynamax. But like you do that, and you do this, but you give things like max fly, like when you like D max, everything turns to a max move, and then you have certain G maxes that have their own abilities, but everything turns into a max move. When you D max a D max Pokemon with a flying type move, they get a +1 speed boost. And that's probably the most important thing in Pokemon because speed is probably the most important stat. You want to have high speed because it allows you to outpace your opponent. And if you're also strong enough to outpace your opponent, it's incredible. Like it's so good. There's a reason why moves like Dragon Dance, Agility, Scale Shot are all like known as vile Quiver Dance and Victory Dance are all known as like great moves. Like in the case of Dragon Dance, Quiver Dance, and Victory Dance, they boost other stats. Yes, but they also boost your speed. Agility boosts your speed by +2. Tailwind also boosts your speed, boosts your entire team's speed for 5 turns. These moves are important. Speed is important because it controls the game. That's like just something that you know about Pokemon. Speed wins games. So, so when you get into that point where all these D max moves are just broken, a lot of people don't enjoy D max in the competitive scene because it's so game determinative and stuff like that. Also, Generation 7 introduced a fury of mons that like you have like someone like the Broken End, like Corviknight and Dragapult. They're like really good and really strong. But then most of the Pokemon they introduced were middling, not were not great. Even like just like a main playthrough sense. I have a lot of problems with Gen 8 competitive, especially because again, Dynamax was broken. It got banned like I think 3 months or so into the generation of competitive on Smogon, and it just was not a fun generation. And even in like draft format where I played most of my competitive nowadays, drafting in this gen was not fun. It was just not fun. Um, was not fun. Because I mean, without like a main mechanic to really like play on, there wasn't much to do. Most drafts just like added in megas, and we played on a tier called National Dex. When they added megas, so we could, feel something different and feel stuff. D tier, D tier, D tier also doesn't help. The story already wasn't like very good. I'm not including DLC in this, but the DLC wasn't great either. DLC was boring and short and just was not great. Was not great. There's a reason why basically everybody migrated off this game as soon as they could. Like as soon as they could migrate off this game, there's a reason why people migrated off Gen 8. They're not good games, and it really sucks. That really sucks. All right, now we're get to the last games of the video. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I love these games. I really do. Barring like the technical issues that this game has, barring all the technical issues, I love this game. I really love this game. I think these are like the best game. I think this is where Pokemon needed to go. Like Pokemon for years has had technical issues, and yes, they are like incredibly frustrating a lot of the time. But I'm willing to accept all those issues in this case for um I'm willing to accept this issue in this case Pokemon finally did it. They finally took us out of the 2D space. For a long time, we were 2D, and then with Sword and Shield, they were like, "Oh, we are going to be 2D, but we're going to be 2D, right? But we're not going. Or I'm going to give you this wild area that's a full open world, and you have full control of your camera and stuff like that." They went all in with it on Scarlet and Violet. You're able to see all the Pokemon. You don't have to do things like search them out in grass. This is what Pokemon needed to become. I'm willing to take the graphical woes to start off this new era and generation of Pokemon as long as we get them fixed. I think that's like the big thing like people are complaining about. The Sword and Shield had their own sets of bugs and misses. Scarlet and Violet had theirs like increase, but we need to get it fixed. I think that's like frame number one. I'm not gonna get into the whole leaks and rumors about what's gonna be happening with like a potential Switch 2, but but I agree with the notion that Pokemon Company is getting too like comfortable releasing crappy ass games. Crappy ass games because they know they're gonna sell well, and I think we need to push them to make better games. Um, but that's gonna do it. That's out of my Pokemon tier list. Like I said, I'm not gonna rank these games because I played other versions of them. But here's all the games that I've ranked, remakes, haven't played. They not technically get ranked. Um, I love all of you. I love all you guys. Thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you guys for watching the video. More is to come as I'm getting a bit more free time. I'm gonna start recording more of these, and I hope you guys really enjoy. All right, thanks. Have a great one.